From a whip-cracking archaeologist's hat to a simple, sinister hockey mask and a legendary leg lamp, props are often as integral to a film as the script itself, often becoming immortal in the annals of cinematic history. Props can also be a linchpin in the narrative, driving the plot forward like the one ring to rule them all. These tangible pieces of storytelling carry the power to transport audiences into the film's universe, lending a sense of authenticity and immersion that can't be achieved through dialogue and performance alone. But the cultural and monetary value of these props often isn't fully known until long after their appearance on the big screen. No guarantees a film is going to become a hit, right? So some of these props are often trashed, lost, given away, or taken home with a five-finger discount. Hey friends, I'm Jimmy Gaddis. In this video, we're diving into 5 of Hollywood's most intriguing, missing, and sometimes found prop stories. Now, this isn't a top 5 list per se. There's no number 1, there's no number 5, although I do have a story that I find to be the most compelling. So we're doing this in no particular order. That said, time warp. Let's start in a galaxy far, far away. Some lucky Brits may have unknowingly worn our first missing prop for Halloween, on stage in a play, or potentially in this 1999 Hollywood blockbuster. Recognize it?
It's me.
It's Obi-Wan Kenobi's robe from A New Hope. For decades, it was tucked away into obscurity in a London costume shop among a sea of ordinary monk robes for rent, its true identity hidden in plain sight. This story starts in 1976. Filming on the original Star Wars is finished, and the Jedi robe worn by Sir Alec Guinness, among other costumes, is sent to Angels and Berman's Costume Company, the world's longest established supplier of costumes for film, TV, and to the public. About 30 years later, 2005, a keen-eyed staffer at what is now called Angels Costumes is doing a routine stock check when he spots something familiar about this brown robe with the, quote, odd-shaped hood. Cue the dramatic music as they realize they're holding a piece of cinematic gold touched by the boot of Darth Vader. The revelation sends shockwaves through the Force, or at least through the costume rental world. Verified by the original Star Wars costume designer, the robe is confirmed to be the genuine article worn by Guinness in his portrayal of the wise and noble Jedi.
You don't need to see his identification.
In a 2005 interview, Tim Angel of Angel Costumes said the robe would have come in just after filming on Star Wars finished and before it was released. It didn't get any special treatment because at that point, Star Wars was just another sci-fi film. No one knew how big it would become. The robe wasn't just rented for parties and plays. Backtracking into its history revealed it was loaned out and worn by an extra in the movie The Mummy. Imagine that, a relic from the sands of Tatooine amidst the sands of Egypt. After the 2005 revelation, the robe would be catapulted from forgotten relic to auction star.
Hello there.
Fetching a reported $104,000 in 2007, finally resting in the hands of a private collector. Its journey from screen to obscurity and back again complete. Stick around, this isn't the only prop from A New Hope we'll be discussing.
Andy!
If your parents ever threw out your prized G.I. Joes or Voltron toys,
That's not trash! That's not trash!
you'll be able to relate to this next one. The long-lost map to the secret location of One-Eyed Willie's treasure.
Hey, Mike found the map!
The map in Goonies wasn't just a piece of the set. It was a character imbued with real blood, sweat, and maybe even tears. Quite literally. J. Michael Riva, the production designer, didn't just age this map with coffee. He and his team cut their fingers and dedicated their own blood to its edges. So where's this piece of cinematic history now? Well, it seems Sean Astin, our beloved Mikey, took it home with him after production wrapped up, along with the copper-boned skeleton key. As he delicately told the convention audience in 2015,
what dare I say?
I don't believe we were formally gifted these items, but I remember being in possession of it. When Astin moved out of Los Angeles at age 18, he left the map and other childhood belongings at home. His mom, Patty Duke,
Patty's only seen the sights a girl can see from Brooklyn Heights.
yes, that Patty Duke, she eventually moved, and it's believed she likely tossed the map out with, the old newspapers and forgotten toys as she cleaned house and packed up. It has not been seen or heard from since. Anyone else's toys suffer the same fate? Let me know in the comments. That said, I'd like to thank my parents for securing my He-Man collection for decades without incident. Not a single figure or accessory was lost on their watch that I'm aware of.
Is this place?
Quentin Tarantino's cherry red 1964 Chevy Chevelle Malibu from Pulp Fiction. Yes, the very one John Travolta cruised in as Vince Vega with Uma Thurman as Mia Wallace. Flashback to 1994. This beauty of a muscle car was snatched from outside Tarantino's Los Angeles home. The robbers switched the car's VIN number with a different 64 Malibu and sold it. The case went cold for nearly decades. Most thought this classic was chopped and changed beyond recognition. Fast forward to 2013, and like a plot from Tarantino's own playbook, the Malibu resurfaced in a scenario no one saw coming.
New at 6, the San Leandro man spent thousands of dollars refurbishing this classic car, only to find out it was stolen.
The big break came when police, on an unrelated case, caught two guys stripping a Chevy Malibu in Victorville. That's about 80 miles from LA. After running the VIN number, they discovered it linked to an owner in Oakland. Police in Oakland looked into it and realized the number had been cloned, and the car was, in fact, Tarantino's. The guy who owned it purchased it 12 years prior from a collector. He poured more than $35,000 into restoring the car, not knowing he was polishing a Hollywood star. This was after he traded his beloved 46 Chevy Hot Rod for it, only to learn its true identity when the cops showed up at his doorstep. Authorities handed the Malibu back to Tarantino, who, I should mention, bought the car in 1989 with money he made from the sale of his True Romance script.
And it so happens that I know a shortcut.
Next on our list, Hoggle, the unforgettable puppet from the 1986 cult classic Labyrinth. This isn't just any prop tale, it's a saga of loss, decay, and an incredible resurrection. Labyrinth was the product of a dream team: Jim Henson, George Lucas, and David Bowie. Among its cast of peculiar characters, Hoggle stood out not just for his complex personality, but also for the sheer technical wizardry it took to bring him to life.
Hoggle!
Hoggle was the pinnacle of puppetry at the time, requiring a team of 4 operators and 18 motors just for his facial expressions, on top of the actress inside. While one of those operators, Jim Henson's son, Brian Henson, provided Hoggle's voice. After filming wrapped up, Jim Henson boarded a flight and checked Hoggle with the rest of the baggage. Unfortunately, the puppet was lost in transit and left to rot for a decade. Eventually recognized for what it was, Hoggle was sent to the Unclaimed Baggage Museum in Scottsboro, Alabama, where he now resides as the museum's most famous find. In the late 90s, doll restoration experts were hired to bring Hoggle back to his former glory, going as far as to fix his speech controls too.
Excuse me?
Oh, excuse me.
In case you need a refresher, Labyrinth follows the main character, Sarah, as she navigates the labyrinth to rescue her brother from the Goblin King, played by David Bowie.
I move the stars for no one.
Hoggle is the first creature Sarah encounters, and his journey from antagonist to ally is central to the story. His character complexity and moral ambiguity added depth to a film that relied heavily on puppetry over the CGI we're so accustomed to today. And speaking of modern movies, Brian Henson recently told comicbook.com that Labyrinth is definitely getting its long-awaited sequel at some point in the future. So, should the call come for Hoggle to return to the limelight, filmmakers know exactly where to find him.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
And finally, the original Death Star. This story isn't just about a movie prop. It is a testament to the enduring love for Star Wars and the lengths fans will go to preserve its legacy. Imagine, after the groundbreaking success of the first Star Wars film in 1977, the iconic Death Star model was unceremoniously dumped. Yeah, Fox decided it was done paying storage fees, and into the bin it was supposed to go. But fate had other plans. Doug, a sharp-eyed storage unit employee and son of the owners, saved the Death Star from the inevitable trash compactor, along with some pieces used in the trench sequence. Doug put the Death Star on display in his California home, but when he moved to Missouri in 1988, he stored the prop at his mom's antique shop, the Mexican Hillbilly. Enter Todd Franklin, a Star Wars enthusiast who was working for a local TV news station as a cameraman. As fate would have it, his latest assignment was a story on local antique shops. In his blog, Todd wrote, outside of the store were scads of statuary, old pottery, some giant oranges used in commercials, and a big gray ball that oddly enough looked like the Death Star. I had a hard time concentrating on my work that day, and as a Star Wars fan, I was giddy with excitement. Despite Lucasfilm's claims of its destruction, Todd gave them a call. He knew he'd found the real deal, but while Todd researched, a country western music venue called Star World swooped in and acquired it. But as they say, the Force works in mysterious ways. Star World would eventually shut down in 1993. And like Luke and Han and Chewie rescued Princess Leia, Todd and his crew liberated the Death Star, which had become a trash can filled with crap jammed in the hole where the radar dish used to be. Todd, his brother, and a friend took turns keeping the relic in their homes, showing it off. Quite the conversation starter. Todd's grandma even made a new radar dish for it out of cardboard. Fast forward to 1999, the trio sells the Death Star to Seattle collector Gus Lopez, who loans it to the Museum of Pop Culture, also in Seattle. The museum folks get the Death Star a legit radar dish made and send the cardboard version back to Todd's grandma as a keepsake. After a 5-year stay, the prop returns to the Lopez home, where it's safeguarded behind plexiglass, a relic of cinematic history that survived against all odds. And those are my favorite lost and found prop stories of movies past. Now, I know some of this information has been out there for a while, but it was new to me, and I hope it was new to you too. So which one of those stories did you enjoy the most? Is there another prop that you think should have made the list? I know Captain Kirk's original captain's chair has a fantastic story behind it, but it was just a bit too far out of the nostalgic 80s and 90s window of time that we like to stay in. Although we will stretch into the late 70s anytime, all the time for Star Wars. And a sincere request to help our channel grow. If you enjoyed this video, a like and a share would go a long way in getting the word out about our 80s and 90s content. If you haven't yet, subscribe and join the thousands of other nostalgics in our ever-expanding community. And don't click away just yet. More 80s and 90s is waiting for you right here. I'm Jimmy Gaddis. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.